I don't want to record.
A series of membership webinars, and we want to welcome you to this particular one. We're going to do something a little different tonight, and we're actually going to take you on a journey that you may not have been on before. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself. I'm Lloyd Campbell. I'm the Assistant Rotary Coordinator, and we have some special guests today, but let's start this journey that we were talking about, and let's see where this is going to take us. Okay, can you see that? We're going to take you to the Zone website and briefly talk about some of the things and some of the advantages of going to the Zone website concerning membership. This is our fearless leader, Alex, who's unfortunately is not here today. But this is his team. This is our Rotary coordinators. We have the assistant Rotary coordinators here. And basically our job is to make sure that we retain and keep our members. Now we have another group, the Innovative Club Advocates, whose main job is simply to look at new possibilities, new clubs, or new things that you can actually do in your club to make them grow. And this is the support staff here at the bottom. Now, this particular webinar, this is our October webinar where we're going to discover the secrets of keeping your members. Now, you know, Rotary has no problems getting members. We have a problem sort of keeping members. So we have a panelist of specialists that's going to take us on this journey on how we can keep members. And Sarah, who is the Regional Membership Officer, wave Sarah. Also Jeff, who is in the process of logging on now. And Roxana from the Plano West Rotary Club is here too. And what we're going to do is talk about things that you can do to keep your members. One of the objectives of our monthly membership webinar is for when you leave here, have some information and some actual things that you can do to have an impact on membership. Now, like I said earlier, this is our fourth webinar. So unfortunately, if you missed the first three, if you go to the Zone website and just click on one of the three here, you will have the opportunity to get a recording of the things that we've done. Now, I know when I started this journey, I said this is something that you probably haven't had an opportunity to visit. But from our numbers and statistics, when we look at all the members that we have in the Zone and ask the question, how many have actually visited the Zone website? It's a number that we would like to see increase. The Zone website actually has a list of things that you can do to improve membership. But enough about that. Let's get this show on the road here. And the first person I want to introduce is Sarah Diller. Now, Sarah is what's your title, Sarah?
I'm the Regional Membership Development Officer.
Fantastic. And we're going to turn it over to Sarah and let her talk about and cover the assessment tools that we can use to help us maintain our membership.
Yes, thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you so much, Lloyd. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Anybody who has worked with me before knows that I am very passionate about our assessment tools. So I'm incredibly excited to be here with you talking about them today. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So as Lloyd mentioned, Rotary does a great job at bringing members in. We are we are good at attracting members and getting them into our organization, but retention is just as important as attraction. In these graphics on the left bar of each respective zone is the gains and losses for the last Rotary year. So the 2022-2023 Rotary year. You'll see in 25B, we brought in over 2,000 members last year. But in that same period, we lost close to 2,500 members. And in zones 29, we brought in approximately 3,500 members, but lost just about a little over 4,000. So we have this gap, right, of bringing members in and members leaving. And how do we go about bridging that gap? Rotary's various assessment tools is a great starting point. Taking the time to evaluate your club is worth the effort, and Rotary has a variety of tools that can help you connect better with your members, involve new and longtime members in ways they enjoy, find approaches to make your club experience more inclusive and flexible, and gather helpful feedback from members who leave your club. And you can find these resources by going to www.rotary.org/membership. And then by selecting Assess and Adapt, it will take you down to the list of resources on how to assess the club. If you aren't sure where to start, I would recommend starting with the Club Planning Assistant or the Rotary Club Health Check. Both of these resources are designed to help you identify and address club challenges, from member engagement to identifying who to invite. They're a great starting point in understanding the current state of your membership. And of course, membership assessment tools is going to be a wonderful resource, especially when we're looking at retention. Both the Engaging and Keeping Members survey, as well as the Enhancing the Club Experience, which is the membership satisfaction survey, are really great ways to understand what your members want and how you can get them engaged. And one thing I do really want to highlight, which I'm very excited about, is that the membership satisfaction survey is now available on a customizable Google form. So whoever's facilitating that survey will need to have a Gmail account, but all you have to do is download and make a copy of the survey, customize it if you need to or would like to, and then send it out to your members. And of course, I'm going to go back to that last screen for one more moment. The key to any survey is making sure you implement the feedback you receive. Based on the assessments that you do, the member feedback and vision, it may mean needing to implement some aspects of flexibility. That is one of the biggest things we see in some of these retention surveys, is implementing flexibility, which might mean switching one meeting to a service project or club social. But it might also mean offering a variety of opportunities to engage, because people are looking for so many things out of their membership. And clubs should be delivering on the feedback they get from members and providing a variety of opportunities to meet member needs. And remember, membership and retention all comes back to the club experience, which is the heartbeat of membership at Rotary. So we want to be sure that we are providing that experience that members want. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much. I have my own story about assessment tools, but I'll bring that up later. I think assessment tools are probably one of the keys to knowing your members. It's extremely important that we know what type of club we have. And the club basically is our membership. So if we don't know where their passion lies, we might be missing the boat completely. But moving forward here, the next person I want to bring on board here to tell us about their experience is Roxana. She's in the Plano Club, that's Plano, Texas. They used to play football in Texas. I don't think they play that anymore, but I'm not going to talk about football here. Roxana, can you tell us about your experience with club assessments and also maintaining your members. So take it away.
Sure, Lloyd. Yes, back in when what we did, the tool that we used was surveys. And when we did a survey back in 2022, we were a club of 66 people, and that is considered a large club. And we had members that were in college and members that were over 70 years old, and 35 of our members were female and 31 male. So it was a very, very well balanced club. But we wanted to do something to retain our members. And calling everybody on the phone was not practical, but we did it anyways. But it wasn't enough. And many members didn't have the time to be on the phone and give me all the details. So we wanted to hear everybody's opinion about their membership experience, the meetings, the location, the time of the meetings, club culture, amount of fundraising, speakers, service project, everything, you name it, everything. So we thought that doing a survey would be a very good option to know our members' opinion and provide clarity to see if the mission was being met and to see if there was other problems that we needed to address. So we went to my Rotary website, and back then there was a very nice sample survey, and which Sarah has them now in Google, but we adjusted the survey to our needs, and we added a few things, and then we went to Google Forms. And I never used this program before, but I didn't need to take a class. The program guided me, and I had the options to choose the format of the questions and modify to what we needed. And before sending it to our members at the meeting, we spoke about the survey coming their way. And then we sent the survey by email. We then reminded our members again about the survey. And we sent another message to all of them. And we got a great response. And also, the survey at the end allowed us to get some extra comments, which we did too. So Google Forms also allowed us to graph the responses. And at the time to present the results to the board, everything was very easy to understand with the graphs and everything. So it's very important to do something with the results. After presenting the results to the board, then we needed to do something with this valuable information. And we found out we had some weaknesses and worked in the areas that needed more help. So it was awesome. This survey opened our eyes, and then we worked on the results, and then little by little, and then we did a survey again, just to see how everything was. I think to do another survey was important too.
Wow, that is fantastic. So I'm going to tell my little story here, and it's in two parts. One is when I first became a member of Rotary. I always tell this story, and I'm sure a few people have heard me say it, is that I was tricked to become a Rotarian. Tricked in the sense that I went to the Rotary. I live in a very small town in Glenwood, 2,500 people. And then at the time that I joined the club, they had no website or no newsletter, online newsletter. So I went to the website, looked at what Rotary International was all about. It was about service, it was about international, about local products. And I said, wow, that is great. So the person who was sponsoring me said, yeah, that's what Rotary is about. So, but when I joined the club, we didn't do international things. And I felt like, oh, this is not exactly what I'm looking for here. And when I became president of that club, I stayed around, by the way. When I became president of the club, I conducted a survey. And that survey presented some interesting information about where our members were, what they really thought about some of the things they wanted to do. And when we decided to act on those things, some of the old guard just didn't want to change. And the new folks who expressed their concerns eventually left. So I know it seems like a sad story, but the reality of it is that once you do a survey, once you know about your club, how important it is to act on it. One simple thing we could have done is change our meeting times, but it was a tradition for 50 years that we always met at 12 noon, and we had people who couldn't meet at noon, and they would, leaving their jobs to come to Rotary, and they just said, enough is enough. So it's extremely important that we do a survey and then act on the results of the survey too. And it also sort of falls in line with the action plan. When you do a survey, so it lets you know where you are with certain information. And then when you redo the survey, you see how impactful your programs have been. So enough about me, and let's bring in Jeff and let him talk about his club and his experience with surveys and how to retain their members, how to retain your members. Jeff, take it away.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thanks for inviting me to be here tonight. Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin right now. Been here for about 25 years. And my club is Fond du Lac Morning. We're a breakfast club, meet at 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday mornings. And the club is about 30 years old now. It was founded by members of another club in Fond du Lac. So we meet at Thursday mornings. I want to focus on the member satisfaction survey. That's what we have found most useful. We've looked at a number of the other things, but that's where our focus is. And I want to constrain my comments to the last few surveys we've done starting in 2019. We do a survey every few years. We've chosen to use SurveyMonkey regularly. It's a fairly easy to use standard tool that gives us good results. And so that's how we do it. We start with the member satisfaction survey and then ask the membership committee and the board of directors, are there particular things that you want to know about our club now that would be not necessarily included in the member satisfaction survey? So we do a little bit of tweaking and modifying of the survey. I want to point out three particular examples. In 2019, we were looking at the possibility of a satellite club. So we added a number of questions to this survey about satellite clubs because we were finding that some of our members were having difficulty getting to a 7 a.m. Thursday morning meeting. And so there was beginning to be talk about starting a satellite club to recognize those members. Following that, our next survey was in late 2020, about a little more than a year later. Well, we're in the midst of the pandemic. So what do? Now we tailor the survey to ask questions about response to the pandemic, the fact that we're on Zoom and using Zoom as our primary medium of connecting. How are people feeling about not meeting face-to-face and stuff like that? So we tailored our survey that time to that. The next survey was about a year and a half later when we were coming out of the pandemic, and we had now transitioned to having hybrid meetings where we had both meetings face-to-face, but also had Zoomers coming in with our meetings. So we tailored the survey again to each of those situations. So every time it's slightly different. What we did is we tried to maintain as much consistency as we could as we went down the road. So that's the way we structured the survey. Every time we did a survey, we went to the membership committee and the board to get input in terms of what should be in the survey. And then when we were done, we did a report. The report went to the board talked about it, and then we took it to a club assembly where we shared the results with the club members and then got feedback. In each case, what we did is when we presented the survey results to the members, we gave them some ideas that the team and the board had for, should we make this change? Should we consider this change? Should we consider this change? So that we were now asking the membership, okay, this is what you said. Okay, here are the results of the survey. And now here are some ideas. Should we proceed in that direction or this direction or another direction? What's your input? And so we use the input coming back from the club members in a club assembly, or we call them a club business meeting. It's the same thing. But it was helpful to us. Just to give you some idea of the experience that we had, that first survey I mentioned, where we were looking at the satellite club, we had a lot of response said, I want to know more. I want to know about what does it mean to have a satellite club? What would it look like? And et cetera, et cetera. And so we had several meetings then that were spent with the club explaining what a satellite club looks like. We also reached out to other satellite clubs that we knew in the area and had input from them on terms of how they run their satellite club, what it looks like, how they do their business, how they're structured, what are their bylaws, and so that we could take that information back to our members in an intelligent fashion to give them an understanding of what it means to have a satellite club, okay? When we went down the road, when we're in the middle of the pandemic, our focus was especially on how we're responding to the pandemic. We were now about 6 or 8 months after the pandemic had started, and we're at that point, we were totally Zooming. And so it's okay, now let's get a sense of a satisfaction of our members when the only contact with members was telephone or Zoom or email or something like that, but we were not meeting face-to-face live. And so we heard a lot from members who said, I don't like Zoom. I don't want to do Zoom. I mean, we had a number of members who said, we're not going to do Zoom. I'm not going to do Zoom. And they refused to Zoom into us. And so that was the big concern for our board about how do we respond when we got a number of members who do not like this medium. And so that was a tricky kind of thing. As soon as we could, then we went to the hybrid format. When we were able to open back up, we started with very restricted protocols, and much of that was enforced by our host organization where we met. But we started out, the first meeting I remember, we only had 15 people in person. And we were seated at 4 people per table and spread way out. And we couldn't serve ourselves. We're used to a buffet. We had servers. We had extra people hired to serve the food. So all the precautions were taken that we were aware of to try and protect the health of our members, okay? Gradually over time, that shifted. The first meeting was 15. We got to the point where we're over the period of about a year and a half. We went from 15 to a typical attendance of about 35 or 40. And so the number of Zoomers went from this down to this. Then we did another survey in 2022, late 2022, almost coming into 2023, and asked them about Zoom. And by that time, we were down to maybe 3 to 5 Zoomers at a time. Some days we had no Zoomers. And what happened is the response from the survey said, we don't need Zoom. And so several months ago, we discontinued Zoom, except when we have a speaker who's coming to us over Zoom. So we still have the equipment, the facility, et cetera, to do a Zoom meeting when we need to, but it's not the standard practice now. At the same time, remember, now I mentioned the satellite club. What we did is we started a satellite club. And in 2 years ago, in March of 2021, our club is recognized as having a satellite club officially by RI. We started out with 8 members. Over the past 2 years, we've grown that from 8 to 30 members. So it's been a huge roller coaster for us, but very, very, very positive. Our club membership was about 80 in 2020 before the pandemic. We're still at 80 members, but you got to remember that RI counts satellite club members as part of the members of the club. So really, we have about 80 to 85 members, 30 of those are satellite club members, only about 50 or 55 members that attend the morning club meeting. Now, how did that happen? Well, we got about 15 of those 30 members are people that are new to Rotary. So we expanded Rotary. But we had a number of people who just could not meet with us in the morning that have transitioned to the satellite club, which meets on Wednesday evening. Okay. Now, another thing that happened in this 2022-23 time frame is we got a pushback from a number of things, especially dues, fees, meals. They were financial things. So what we've done now, based on that information and the discussions with the club, is we've gone from meeting every Thursday morning to we now meet the first and third Thursday of the month, and the fifth if there's a fifth Thursday. And we've reduced the number of business meetings. We used to have a business meeting or a club assembly every fifth meeting. We've gone back to we only have a business meeting, club assembly on the fifth Thursday. So we've made, again, some more changes to our format based on the information that we had from our survey. But remember, our approach has been figure out what you want to know, ask the members, bring the results back, discuss with the board, present the members, get the feedback from the members, and then create an action plan and then act on that action plan. So it's been a continuing cycle. And so now we're getting ready. Within the next few months, we'll be doing another survey to see where we are after each of these changes. I think that's some of the high level stuff that's happened. And I hope that gives a sense of how we have used the member satisfaction survey to help give us information that helps drive the club to, we hope, making improvements and better satisfying our members. Does it make sense?
Jeff, that was just awesome, to be honest with you. I was writing notes while you were talking, and there's so many things I want to talk about here, but I'm just going to highlight one of the things that really spoke to me is that your club took the effort to listen to their members. And when people know that you're listening to them, they know that you value what they say, and especially when you act on what they do. So in a sense, you're giving them some value that Rotary is listening to what I'm saying, they're making some changes, and you've done, I guess in a sense, so many surveys that it's almost part of your culture. They know that if there's a change is going to happen, or periodically, you guys are going to ask them about what they think about it. And I think that's important. Sometimes it's hard to start a culture of surveying. If you're doing a survey once a year, or once every 6 months, there are always going to be complaints about, oh, that survey is too long. I don't want to do this. I want to do that. But once they see that you're actually listening to them, they know that you value their presence there. And I think that's important. So let's move ahead here. I want to ask some questions. And I also want the audience to have an opportunity to ask some questions. So if you have some questions, please put it in the Q&A, and you will see Alex's picture pop up. That's a joke between Farron and I. But please put your questions in Q&A, and we'll try to get to those. But there are a couple questions I want to ask the group, and this one might be to Sarah. How do club assessment tools from Rotary International directly correlate to improve retention?
Yes, thanks for that question. I think the short answer to that is happy people stay in their clubs, right? When people are happy, when they feel heard, when they feel valued, they are more likely to stay in their Rotary Club. And membership assessment tools provides avenues for people, for leadership to ask their members what they want, pinpoint what some of those challenges might be, and then implement change. And ultimately, I think to Jeff's point, of creating that culture of surveying, people can expect that they will have an opportunity to share their opinion, to share what they want out of their experience, and that is going to impact their desire to stay in Rotary, to stay in their club.
Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's difficult to start in a sense a new culture. If you haven't done surveys before, if you do the health check and there's like 70 questions there, that might scare some folks. So you might want to ease into it. One of the techniques that someone told me about surveys is that when you have a speaker, just give everyone a coin either of different colors. And when they leave the meeting, if you thought the speaker was great, put a certain color coin in something. If you thought you never want to hear something like that again, you want people to know, the members need to know what the leadership need to address the membership about things that's going on in the club. And sometimes it starts with the speakers. The type of speakers you bring in, and that can have some impact on your club too. Now, this message is for Jeff. What are the primary challenges club face in membership retention, and how do the tools that you talked about address them?
Good question, Lloyd. Thank you. Several things. One of the challenges that we face is that membership has numerous challenges. We got work challenges, we got relocation challenges, we got family challenges, we got all sorts of challenges, things that get in the way. There's also the challenge of whiffing. You know, what's in it for me? The Rotarian will say, what am I getting back from Rotary? If I'm paying the dues and I'm coming to the meetings, what am I getting? So we have to respond to that. And so one of the things that the surveys do is they give us leverage in terms of asking the members, what do they want out of Rotary? And so this helps us to understand if we do this periodically and repeatedly, and by the way, we're getting typically about 2/3 of our members to respond. So we're getting which is a decent response rate. And so my sense is that we're touching most of our members, but that gives us a chance to hear from them what they like, what they don't like, and how things are going for them. One of the big things that we were hearing in 2018, 2019, 2020 is, I can't get to the meeting. And our club is still as the old model where you get charged for breakfast whether you're there or not. Okay, so if the breakfast is $14 and you're getting charged for breakfast and you're only able to get there once a month, well, you're getting charged for 3 or 4 breakfasts that you didn't eat. And that sort of is something rankles a little bit. So our current strategy is we're going to 2 or 3 meetings a month instead of 4 or 5 meetings a month, which reduces the load on the members. This downside of that is you don't see people 4 or 5 times a month for a morning meeting. You only see them twice, maybe 3 times a month. So there's less contact, less engagement, less opportunity to do things with the club. Now, the flip side of that is service. Services really started with a focus and emphasis on service. So that's what they do. Typically 2 to 3 service projects every month, so that people who are in that club are meeting once a month for a meeting, but they're doing 2 or 3 service projects during the month, plus a social once a month in the evening. And so what the members and what they say they want and how they want their stuff structured so that we can respond to what they're doing. But it starts by getting the information from the members and then responding to what their desires are. Does that help, Lloyd?
Yes, it does. I think we're talking about things we do to value our members. When members feel valued, they're going to stay around. When we are doing things and we're not listening to what they're doing, we're doing the things we've done in the past and not realizing that the world is changing, then we might have members leave us. And I think the statistics sort of speak to that. Thank you very much for that information.
Can I add on to one more thing, Lloyd? One more thing. I want to talk about these changes that we make. Every time we make a change, we look to find a champion, somebody who's going to champion that change and really drive it, really push it. One of the complaints we had was uneven quality in programs. So one of our members, who's the past president, was president a couple of years ago, said, I'll take that on. And so our method of selecting programs was we got the alphabetical list of members. Okay, the A's are 1 month, the next meeting is the B's, the next meeting. And so the people, the members, based on their last name, drew a straw that said, okay, this is your time to get the program. What that led to was some programs that were not the best quality because people waited till the last minute and then they couldn't get a good speaker and you sort of got what you got. The change was Brian said, I'll chair a speaker committee. And so we now have an 8-person speaker committee that goes out and vets speakers and schedules speakers, and we arrange for those speakers to come in. And that has significant improvement in the quality of our speakers and our programs. But that meant we had to have somebody who's willing to be the champion. When we had a service project in the Satellite Club, we had one of the service projects is doing food boxing for our local food pantry. Well, one of the members stepped up and said, I'll coordinate that. And so she drives it. Every month we go to the food pantry and she makes all the arrangements. Another one said, we're going to let's make Linus blankets for the first responders and the paramedics and the police and everything. Well, somebody else is the person who's the champion for that product. So every time we take on a new initiative or a change, we find a champion who's going to really be responsible for that and drive it so it doesn't flounder, so we don't lose track of it. So I think that's a really important thing. That's part of this whole process of when you're implementing a change, you got to have a driver, somebody driving the bus. So I hope that helps, Lloyd.
Yes, it does. And you're absolutely right. Anytime you do anything in Rotary, you have to have a person who's passionate about it, someone who's going to drive that issue forward. And those are one of the keys to success to any program or anything that we do in Rotary. So, Roxanna, I don't want you to think I left you out, but I do have a question for you from the West Plano Rotary. What was the most impactful aspect of the assessment tool?
Okay. We were able to see what needed attention right away. So we were able to prioritize things that were meaningful to our members. And also to answer Betsy's question, Betsy Nordstrom, I'm going to give you an example of what needed attention. We considered that needed attention right away. We had a lot of new members, and something very important to our members that we noticed in the survey was networking. Since a lot of, like I said, a lot of members were new, they wanted to meet each other. We used to have a speaker every week, and we did a change we did networking once a month, and we let the members know in advance that certain week was gonna come for networking, and we started to do really fun activities once a month. We did the icebreakers games, icebreakers. That was very fun. Everybody liked that. A lot of laugh, and so members started to talk to each other, and then we also had the meeting was on Zoom. We had meeting in Zoom and in person, and we look for activities where we can mix Zoom and in person, and we made it work. So that was really fun. That was something that needed attention right away, that we thought, because we were a lot of new members. They wanted to meet each other.
Yeah, that is an excellent example of getting the information and making the adjustment to make sure that you do what they want done. It's always a tragedy when you have the information and you just say, oh, we don't need to do any fellowship. We can just go and have business meetings along, and then people start drifting away. It's important that you listen to what they ask you to do and follow up on it. So that's great. So thank you very much. Back to you, Sarah. Can you provide an example of a club that turned around its retention issue by using these tools?
Yeah, so not to give too much of a peek behind the curtain, but Lloyd did send this question to me last week. And I reached out to my full team to get, an array of examples from all over the world. And I got a lot of examples from my colleagues and from this region of clubs who use these assessment tools. But the underlying theme of them was that they turned retention around for 1 to 2 years. And as leadership continued to shift, there was no succession plan in place. There was no champion. They weren't resurveying their members. And so after 1 to 2 years, they started to have retention issues again. And that was a statistic that I was not, or kind of a piece of data that I was not aware of or familiar with. But it made sense of, it is very important to both Roxana and Jeff's points to take what your members say and implement it, and to continue to ask. People's schedules change, circumstances change. As new members join your club, what that makeup looks like of what people want shifts. And so it's important to continually ask people what they want if you want your retention to remain strong. And to Jeff's point, to have a champion of these changes. Somebody who is there to support them kind of for the long haul, as opposed to the turnover of leadership causing the kind of excitement that comes with these changes to falter and fall to the wayside.
Thank you, Sarah. You just brought up an interesting point, and that's sustainability. Once we start something, we want to make sure that it's something that continues on, and that's important. And I think Jeff and Roxanne both talked about when you start doing surveys, you're actually sort of changing the culture a little bit, and you need to keep, to use I guess a phrase here, keep your foot to the pedal, to the metal, to keep it going. Because once you stop, then the reality of it, you're just going to revert back to what you've been doing in the past. So it's very important that, and that's interesting that statistic showed up when after statistics always surprise me. When you actually do the survey and you ask for the information, then all of a sudden this other thing pops up that really defines how successful that program can be, and that is doing something with some some type of consistency, and also so it can be sustainable. So sustainability is definitely a key here. Let's see. We haven't heard from Jeff in a little while. How does these tools aid in membership engagement and club unity when we talk about survey tools?
Okay, again, it comes back to looking at what your members are interested in and want to do. One of the things that the club has started to do is we have what we call a TGIR. Thank goodness it's Rotary, which is a purely social event. Happens once a month, and both our morning members and our satellite evening members are invited to come. It rotates a different restaurant every month. So we gather at 5 o'clock for social hour, cocktails if you want to. Some people will stay for dinner, but it basically goes from 5 to 7. This is something we found that a number of our members really enjoy. It's a purely social time, no business, no meeting, nothing. But that was something that came from our members. So that's one example. But again, all of this goes back to what are the things that the members want, and our goal is to try and help the members be as satisfied as possible with their club experience. The membership goes up and down as a function of how satisfied that they have with the club. A lot of people join because of service. If they're not able to network, if they don't create friends in the club, if they don't have the opportunity to do service, then they become less and less interested. And so what we want to keep understanding projects we need to take on. Are there different things that we need to do? So all this come back to getting the information from the members, keeping tabs on them. Now, that's not to say that the survey is the only thing we do. We talk to our members too, you know. We meet them regularly in meetings and social activities and get the pulse of what's going on. But this is a more formal way when you do the survey to get that information from members. Does that help?
A lot. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Roxanne, I'm going to ask you just your last question here. How did the tools help your club address members' concerns and feedback?
Okay, so doing a survey in our club created awareness. It was a great way to know our members' expectations and to see if they were happy Rotarians. We made our surveys anonymous. That's very important. We wanted them to express, and so we thought that was very important. And for this reason, we believe the responses were honest. And a survey, I think it is a very good tool. It gives a genuine feedback, but the key is to take action and then resurvey. We also need to be careful how to address the questions. We don't want to lead to an answer. So we want the questions to be objective, right? And so I can give you an example. We don't want to ask, do you agree that we have a lot of service projects? That's not. Back to you, Lloyd.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess what I would like to do now is just any final comments, any if there was something that you want to leave the audience with that you think is extremely important when we talk about surveys, the club experience, and how to retain their members, what would it be? Let's start with RI. That's not, and when I mean RI, I mean Sarah.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the biggest piece of advice I would say with surveys and kind of the implementation is don't be afraid to try something new with the understanding that it might not work, and that's okay. You can try it and you can say, this isn't working, we're going to go in a different direction, but that's better than just being stagnant and having people continue to leave because they're not satisfied. So don't be afraid to take a risk. The worst that can happen is that you could say, that didn't work, we're gonna shift to something else.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think it's important for all organizations to realize the world isn't perfect. You will make mistakes, and you have to be willing to take a risk, but at the same time, you want to also learn from your mistakes. One of the things that we have to be is a learning organization. So we have to be willing to try and have to be willing to, hey, if we make a mistake, learn from it, but you will gradually be successful by just trying. So Roxanne, any additional comments you'd like to leave with the group?
I totally agree with Sarah, and don't I also want to say, don't be afraid to ask. There might be members that know how to and that they want to help you, and so when you talk to them on the phone, they might have experience using the computer. I am not very good with the computer, but talking to some of them on the phone, they do that for their job or for hobby, and they were saying, hey, I can help you with sending the email to everybody. And so don't be afraid to ask, and that's what I think, like when we did the networking, we found out a lot about what our members do. And also in your membership committee, don't be afraid to talk to them, and then I'm sure they can help you with some other ideas.
I was muted. Roxanne, thank you very much for that information. Jeff, one last word from you. What would you like to leave the group with?
The last word. I'm really passionate about surveys. Part of that's because that's something I've been doing my whole life. But surveys are only one thing. You could also do a focus group, or you just have talks, conversations, have coffee with members. Just the important thing is communication, to know what's going on with your members, and then to be trying to satisfy their needs. It's the challenge, is satisfying the needs of the members, and surveys are only one way of getting the information that you can use to try and meet the needs of your members. And once you meet the needs of your members, you're more likely to retain them. If you don't know what they're concerned about, if you don't know what their problems are, and you're not listening to them, well, then they're going to walk away, and you're going to not retain your members. You're going to lose your members. And that's just part of what Sarah was talking about earlier, the revolving door that we have in Rotary. We bring new members in, but then members leave because we're not satisfying their needs, wants, and desires. So this is just one method, this survey.
Jeff, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. Seems like we've talked about a variety of different things. Our focus was how important surveys were and how important it is to communicate to our members. And just simply by communicating to our members, we're showing that we value their presence, we value what they think. And we just have a few more minutes left here. And Farron, are there any questions, Q&As that we probably don't have enough time to go through all of them, but anything that sort of sticks out?
Yeah, we do have several. questions here. Some of them have been answered in the chat or through the Q&A. For instance, several people ask, where do you find the online survey, or where do you find the recorded sessions? And Sarah answered the online survey question in the Q&A, and I answered the webinar question in the chat. We did have one question here. Do members get tired of surveys every year or two? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, very much so. If, you know, it depends. If it's the culture of the club, no, they sort of expect it. When they don't have a survey, they wonder what's going on. We have a couple clubs like that in our district, and it was interesting when I actually did my club visit. They did a survey, so not sure what that meant as far as me being there, but they actually do probably 2 surveys a year. So once it becomes part of the culture, that's something that they sort of expect. And back to club culture, you know, one of the things that you can actually do is interview, or I guess it would be a pre-interview before they actually become members. And you let them know that there will be surveys. If you have mentors for new people, let them know that there will be survey. And I think it's all about expectations. And if you can tie in survey to that, we value what you think, people won't get tired of it, because we all have ideas about things that's either positive or negative. And as leaders in our clubs, we want to know those things. So, and that's my play on that. The panel of experts can easily chime in, and if you have some additional stuff to say. Okay.
All right, we have another quick question. I have a feeling this is going to be a quick answer. Sarah, is the online survey fillable? Someone asked that.
The Google form?
Yes.
Yes, you can download the Google form and make a copy, and that's all you have to do. If you don't feel the need to customize it, all you have to do is make a copy, and then you can send it right to your members and have them complete that Google form.
One other question here for anyone. What percentage of participation on a survey would be a good number? 20%, 50%? What are your opinions on that?
Well, statistically, I think you only need about maybe 20% to have a 94% confidence rate. But I'm going to be quiet on that one. Jeff?
But it's a matter of what I don't disagree with Lloyd in terms of confidence from a statistical standpoint, but we've been getting 60 to 70% every time we do a survey. And what that means is we're touching 2/3 of our members. Now, we don't know what the other third of the members are thinking, but that's a pretty good representation. My concern is if you're only getting 20%, then you're only hitting 1 in 5 of your members. And what are those other 4 thinking about? So the more you can have a survey that they will respond to, the better shape you're in terms of polling as many members as you can.
All right, Lloyd, I have some other questions here, but we are out of time.
Oh, thank you. And one of the things that we try to do is start on time and end on time. I want to first thank the panelists for taking of their time and sharing the information that they have about how to retain our members. I think Sarah, with those charts, that really sort of blew our minds that we have an organization that people want to join, but apparently we also have an organization that people are running away from, and that's our fault. We need to make sure that we create an environment that people want to stay. And I think the information that we talked about today will do exactly that. So again, I want to thank everyone for the panelists for being here. I want to thank Farron for taking the time out to actually run this meeting. It's sort of a difficult job to talk, be the moderator, let people in, answer questions all at the same time. And this would not be possible without Farron. So I want to thank him for taking the time out to do this. So we have another webinar that comes on the third Tuesday of the month. And I want you to note one thing. It comes in right after we get our numbers about membership for the zone. So keep that in mind. So we will try to, if we miss any questions, try to answer some of these questions and put them online so we can address some of your concerns here. But the recording here, there will be a recording probably a week after. I think it comes up maybe about a week after the meeting, so you can go through this again. So again, I want to thank you. I'm a minute over. Adios. Bye.